Alright guys, so today I decided to do a quick video on Retic shed cycles. A lot of newbies, when you've never dealt with the larger snakes before, expect the shed cycles of larger snakes to be similar to snakes they've had before, such as ball pythons, corn snakes, some of the smaller species. And it's a big difference in the shed process. One of the major differences, I would say, starting with, and I'd use this girl, and if y'all wondering why there is actually a hose attached to her, it's because walking from her enclosure to here, she picked this hose that was laying along the way up and she's not letting it go right now. So when she's ready, she'll let it go, but she's just sitting here kind of wrapped around it. So I'm using my purple sunfire Aaliyah, and Aaliyah's actually in shed right now. Now it's hard to tell, just like with any other albino species, when a albino retic is in shed, if you're not familiar with them, because as you can see, her colors still look pretty bright. However, I can tell by her eyes. You might not capture it there, but her eyes are very cloudy right now, although her skin looks perfectly bright and as pretty and as adorable as it normally would. Let me see if we turn down this light real fast. Hold tight. Alright, so that's probably the best y'all gonna get of her eyes right now, right? But the process starts long before you actually see any signs. Typically, you can notice it in your retic's behavior. They become less active probably about a week before you will even see the first sign. I would say up to about a week to 10 days before you see the first sign physically that they are in shed. So that's to start. Then that process, especially with larger retics, younger retics will shed probably the same cycle as a younger ball python. Pretty much every time it eats, digests, it sheds. Larger retics go through longer shedding processes, and typically it's because of how you feed them. You normally feed them at that particular point larger prey, which means that their digestion is taking longer and the processing of their food is taking longer, so therefore you want to get, you know, longer spurts between the shed process. So larger retics can take up to 3 weeks before they actually physically shed. So I just wanted to shed for the newbies some signs that you may notice, because again, I try to do videos based off of questions I see posted in public forums. And so therefore that's a big one. Like, my retic hasn't shed, or my retic is young and is constantly shedding. What does that mean? So with, like I said, a younger retic is going to shed more because it's eating smaller prey and digesting it so much faster than when they start to eat larger prey, and then they're much larger. A larger retic has more body to shed, so the process is going to take longer. They typically will seek big water sources to prepare for shed, and that's why I am not a fan of not having a second water source in the retic enclosure. I think you should have a drinking water source, and you should also have a soaking or basking water source, and they utilize that mostly at shed time and right after eating to digest. So I would say that you definitely want to make sure that you are paying attention to if your retic is soaking in water prior to, and then you'll see them, they'll kind of soak there for a day, come out, go on the cool side, come back to the water, because I keep their basking water on the warm side. They'll come back, soak in the water, go back, and then eventually you'll see them go to that cool side and stay until they complete the entire shed process. Typically after a few of the soaking and going over to the cool side, prior to them becoming pretty much dormant on the cool side until they shed, they will, you'll start to see the skin start to like form little scales amongst their skin, And you'll also start to see their eyes finally starting to show more of the cloudiness. Again, on albinos, it's hard, but when they get to that point of shed where they're in full shed, they are dull. You can notice a difference in their colors at that particular time. Then I would say somewhere between that day 14 to day 21 is when you'll see them actually release the skin. So it's okay to expect that process to be a little longer than other species. Like I said, and once they get larger, the larger the retic, the larger that shed process becomes. Another question I see a lot is, should I feed my retic during shed? Absolutely, if your retic is going to eat. I don't have any retic in here who turns off food because they're in shed. They know where it's at, they're able to find it, they're able to digest it. Now, I don't feed live at all. I would not recommend if you feed live, especially larger prey, to do that. But I personally don't feed live at all. So frozen thawed rabbit, 10 to 12 pounds going in there to one of my retics is just fine. They are going to eat it, they're going to digest it, and they're still going to shed. So you shouldn't be concerned about that. I think my greatest tip that I would give any new beginner is have two sources, even at an earlier age. Smaller soaking bowl and a drinking bowl. And as they get bigger, you increase the size of that soaking bowl, and you always make sure that they have those two water sources. You will never have in a PVC enclosure anyway, or a retic that's in a tub. You will never see them not have a gray shed if you have those two things in place. They have everything they need for a successful shed. I hope this helps someone. If you have any other questions, feel free to DM me. I do also have a Patreon, so definitely if you feel as though that this is something that you're looking into and you want additional knowledge and more hands-on experience, or more visual hands-on experience delivered from me to you, that's what the Patreon is about. So until then, peace.